Alright. It recorded most of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to reactivate it every once in a while. Alright. Can you hear me now, Jammie? Jesus! Technical errors. Alright. Why do most women love hip-hop music when it's the most degrading of all music towards women?
I hate hip-hop.
No, my mic's at home. You hate hip-hop? You're not a big fan of it? So, again, speaking about women in general, do you think most women don't even listen to the words, they more listen to the beat?
I don't think women care about how degrading the song is, because if you've ever seen a woman who's single go out and dance to those songs, yeah.
Okay, she can hear us now. Alright, so, you know how they, in those songs, they often call women bitches and hoes?
Yep.
Alright, so is it only acceptable to talk shit on women as long as you have a good backtrack?
I have no idea.
Because hip-hop music has a backtrack.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Alright. I have to be very gentle with this because this offends women, so I have to be very clear. I'm gonna read it the way I wrote it.
I'm not easily offended, really. I'm not.
But we got viewers, so I want them to understand. So I'm gonna read it the way I wrote it, and then I'm gonna read it in a crayon level way of it, okay? For them.
No what?
Why do we what?
No bueno.
No bueno. Brian, you either hear me or you don't. Jammie, can you hear me? Y'all are confusing me. Jammie says yes, he says no. Turn your audio up, Brian, because Jammie can hear it. Alright, so why do we hold women accountable for their why do we hold women accountable when they drive drunk, but not when they have drunk sex?
This is a topic for me. It is. I will try to make it as short as possible.
But before you answer, I want to spell it out for them so they don't get super offended. Alright, so in other words, if a woman is drunk and she gets into a car and drives that car and wrecks that car and hits a car and kills somebody, she's going to go to jail for it. But if that woman gets drunk, climbs on top of a man, has sex, wakes up the next day, regrets that sexual act, cries rape, cries sexual assault, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Regret is not rape. And I'm not saying that to degrade women. So far, can you agree with my statement?
I agree.
It's not degrading of women to say the truth. So now you can answer. I just wanted to spell it.
I think you basically said everything I had to say to tell you the truth.
Right.
But,
it's just because people get offended when I ask that. I don't know why.
as a woman, I don't care how intoxicated you are.
Okay.
You still should be aware of your surroundings enough. Two sides of the coin. One, you should be aware enough to not go having a one-night stand. And two, he should really be aware enough to, if he thought you were drunk enough, that he should tell you this isn't a good idea.
Right.
So this is two sides of the same coin.
I will say to the viewers who watch this, they're not watching it now, but they will later. I will say this. I in no way, shape, or form want you and them to know that I don't condone rape by any shape or means.
Right, right.
I don't condone grape.
But falsifying.
I'm going to use grape, not the R word, grape with G. But I would argue that those grape-ists should be shot, stabbed, hung by their testicles, and spend the rest of their life in jail.
Testicle guillotine.
There you go. But if they survive all that, they should spend the rest of their life in jail, period. So that, because prisoners don't treat rapists as good role models.
On the same side, or I guess different side of that, if a woman is completely consensual,
yeah,
and comes home the next day with regret and says that somebody performed the grape,
Yeah.
that person should be held accountable, and she should be the one that should have to go to jail.
But unfortunately,
That's not the way the law works.
women can falsify documents, falsify reports, and a lot of athletes that have proven innocent, the woman that falsified everything never goes to jail.
Nope.
And that's wrong. But to spell it out in a deeper level for the women who are offended, let me make it more clear to you. If I bathe myself in animal blood and dive into a shark tank full of sharks, is it the shark's fault that I got murdered and eaten, or is it my fault? Or let me make it deeper. If I bathe in sheep blood and I go walking into a wolf den, is it the wolf's fault that I was murdered, or is it my fault for being an absolute moron? A moron. I don't know how clear I have to make this. I'm not being offensive towards women. I'm telling you, if a woman doesn't know the people she's hanging out with, she shouldn't be going to that party alone.
And I completely get what you say. I do.
It's not offensive.
It's not offensive. Here's the only time that I think that it is appropriate is if that woman is stumbling around to the point where she can't even remember what happened that night. Most likely it was not consensual.
Right.
That would be considered to me.
But
not if you walked out and everybody in that establishment saw you walk out with this person. You were not stumbling. You looked coherent, and then you come back the next day and try to claim something like that. Well, then you're a piece of crap.
But I could also argue that that's all based on the choices you make. You're at a party, you're by yourself, you drink so heavily to a point that you can't even stand up. You chose to put yourself in that situation. By no means am I condoning the behavior of the person who might potentially harm you.
Okay.
But if I make bad choices in life and I get killed or I end up in jail, the consequences rest solely on my shoulders.
And how do you know he didn't roofie her?
Right, but
just playing devil's advocate.
Oh my
you
God.
wanted to have this conversation.
Yeah,
I
okay.
figured I would play devil's advocate.
Let's argue he roofied her, okay? I think that there's better places that both of them could have been that night.
Yeah.
I think that her being alone at party, I have seen videos on What Would You Do, where they tested that theory about, guys roofing at the bars and nobody said anything.
I've heard of bartenders doing it.
Yeah. So I think that if women are so afraid of being alone at bars, they shouldn't be at bars alone. I think if women are so afraid to be out at night alone, they shouldn't be alone out at night. Because here's one thing women don't understand. They're afraid to be alone out at midnight, but studies prove that men have a higher disadvantage of being assaulted and attacked at night than women do.
I agree.
And
all you gotta do is look at the news.
Yeah. It's just logic. I'm not being negative. I'm not being...
He's got it.
What happened?
Just
oh, shoot.
Burning up my grass, that's all. It goes out.
It just gives it texture. We got dark grass. Or, sorry, they got dark grass. Not me. They do.
Well, luckily the grass is still wet for me.
So, just for everybody's sake, I would like to hear a little comment from you. At no point did I condone the actions of a bad person. Can we agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay. So everybody knows, a woman agrees, I don't condone bad behavior.
I'm a different breed. I'm not most women, so
I just have to play
I
safe
know.
around
I know.
soft people.
But that's what's wrong with today's society, because you can't speak your mind without somebody being offended.
Agreed. All right, so with all the injustices that men face with courts, custody, divorce, the laws, the crime rates, and healthcare, do you ever actually empathize with the pain, the injustice that men face, or is it not even a thought on your mind?
I didn't realize it was such a big thing until I met you. But I guess it's because it's not something that's spoken about.
I'm teaching women across the world, y'all. I'm sure your husband knew. Did you know that? That divorce rates were so high that courts favored men than they do women on custody and divorce. That men receive more prison time than women do for same crimes. See, your husband knew.
Well, I mean, I knew some of that. I
Some
mean,
of it.
especially the custody thing, because I actually have a friend of mine who he actually got custody of his kids, and he had to fight really hard for that.
Okay. So do you have a son?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said he's special needs. Is that your
I have
only
two.
child? Or both
I
of
have
them? Both of them boys?
Both of them boys.
Is one of them not special
Yeah,
needs?
my youngest, he's actually the highest in his class.
Okay, let's say your son was 18 years old, okay? Let's say your son came home and said that the girl he's seeing took him to court and the court's forcing him to pay child support, but DNA tests prove that the child is not his.
That's
Would you
actually
be
not,
outraged?
That's not legal.
It's not legal, but it happens.
If there was a DNA test, she would actually have to pay the DNA or pay for the. At least in the state of North Dakota.
In North Dakota.
In North Dakota, the laws are that this is a red state though.
Yeah.
If a woman,
We all need more red states,
if
y'all.
a woman goes and makes a man take a paternity test and finds out that he is not the father, not only is she responsible to pay for the paternity test, she has to pay for dragging him to court, which is the way it should be. For real.
I agree. All right, so did you know as a woman that that 80 to 90% of all medical healthcare funding and research is dedicated to women's health? Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
If the roles were